Saijiki podcast. My name is Allison Whipple, and twice a month I'll bring you a conversation with a fellow haiku practitioner about the way that food and the seasons show up in their haiku practice. Visit www.culinarysaijiki.com to listen to the podcast, read long-form essays on these topics, and sign up to join the podcast conversation. You can also support the project at buymeacoffee.com/culinarysaijiki. Enjoy the show. All right, it's time for episode 6. I am coming to you from the kitchen table in the place where I'm staying. I'm enjoying some nice breakfast tea that John brought me from his travels in England this summer, and this is going to be the last time I record from this house, assuming, everything goes well. Knock on wood. On Wednesday, we are closing on our own place in St. Louis, which means soon we're going to get all of our stuff out of storage, and hopefully I will have access to my real microphone again for the next episode. So I'm super excited about that. I have loved being here. I've loved being around my nephew every single day. He's just such a treasure, and I'm excited to just still be in my own space and find all my good creative equipment that's just been in storage and who knows where for months. And I'm going to get the supporter bonus out sometime this week. Things are a little hectic, what with closing on a house, but I am really enjoying putting those together as well. And if that's not an option for you, just share the show, share the episodes out on your social media, share them with anyone you think you would like them. People also say, oh, you're supposed to tell people to leave a review. If you want to, go ahead. I hate writing reviews. I just hate it. So, if you want to, great. This will probably be the last time I say anything about it because I don't want to ask anyone to do something that I personally have no interest in doing. All right, so my guest today is Matt Defibaugh, and we are talking about some tanrenga, which is a form of collaborative verse that he wrote with Christina Chin. They have an ongoing tanrenga practice together via Google Docs. And Christina wasn't able to come on, so it was just talking to Matt. We still had a great conversation. But, Christina, if you're listening and you ever feel up for it, I would love to talk with you as well. So this is the first time on the show we're not talking entirely about haiku. We're actually talking about tanrenga, which is it falls under the umbrella of Japanese short forms, but it's a different form. So the conversation goes a little differently, I think. It's a little longer than some of my other episodes, but I had great fun. And so, if you write more tanka or haibun or other collaborative forms like renge or renga or split sequences, and they talk about food, food shows up in your work, I welcome those as well. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, Matt Defibaugh is a Virginia-based poet and haiku enthusiast. He has degrees in mathematical sciences and operations management. Defibaugh's latest chapbook, The Cuckoo Always Mid-Song, Haiku and Haiga, was done in collaboration with artist Penny L. Mellon and is available from Barnes & Noble Press. His work has appeared in numerous journals, including Frog Pond, Modern Haiku, Failed Haiku, Stardust Haiku, and Trash Panda. And today he will be discussing some tanrenga that he's written with Christina Chin. And though Christina is not here with us, I did want to read her bio as she is the co-author of these poems. Christina Chin is a painter and haiku poet. She's a 4-time recipient of top 100 in the MDAC Summer Contests, exhibited at the Palo Alto Art Center in California. She is the sole haiku contributor for a Muse art book of Randall Vermeer's paintings from Artreach Publications. She's the first prize winner of the 34th annual Cherry Blossom Sakura Festival 2020 Haiku Contest, and the first prize winner in the 8th Satuchi Matsuyama 2019 Photo Haiku Contest. She has been published in numerous journals, multilingual journals, and anthologies, including Japan's prestigious monthly Haiku Kai magazine. So, although Christina could not be with us today, I am so excited to talk to Matt about their collaborative poems and their process and food. So, welcome, Matt.
It's good to be here. Good to meet you.
Yeah,
So
good to talk to
I've
you.
seen your poems everywhere. So
That's good to hear.
yeah,
Do you want to read your first two?
yes, I'll go ahead and read these. So the first one is the first three lines are my verse, and the second two lines are Christina's response. These are all Tan Ringa poems, which are short Ringa poems of just two verses, usually three lines and then two. But sometimes we've done some that are two and then three, or some will do like the first part of the second part or third part. But all right. The soju glass held firmly in two Koreas when children played on sorghum stilts. Cold, rainy day. Eating hot curry, I wipe my tears. She finds the rubber chicken in her purse.
All right, you want to
Yeah.
read them again? I always like to have, they're
Yes.
so
Oh, yeah.
short, I always like to have room to
Twice.
read
Yeah.
twice.
The soju glass held firmly in two Koreas when children played on sorghum stilts. Cold, rainy day. Eating hot curry, I wipe my tears. She finds the rubber chicken in her purse.
All right. I love these two, and I tried to strike a balance of the initial poem and the two-line response, but then
Right.
I just ended up going with all of the ones that really spoke to me. So you explained a little bit about the Tanrenga form already, but what led you to it, and specifically into collaboration with Christina?
Yeah. So I've been writing haiku for a long time, but I used to write just the 5 7 5 form for probably many years, and then about in 2019, I read some of Robert Haas's book, the Essential Haiku, with the Isa and Basho. What's Busan is the other one, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what got me into the form currently of modern haiku, because I notice all of those are translated in less than 5 7 5, and they sound a lot better than 5 7 5. So I've been doing this on my own for a long time and didn't have anybody to teach me, or no mentoring or someone to teach me how to write. But I was introduced to Renge by a poet, and I started writing those with her. Just like a couple. It was Sherry. What is her? Sherry Grant.
Oh
That
yeah,
was her
Sherry
name.
Grant. Yeah.
Sherry Grant. Yes. I'm sorry. I just slipped my name slipped there. But yeah, we wrote some, and that's kind of what introduced me to like the collaboration. And I'd also done some Ranku with the Haiku Foundation website. The couple they had, I sent some verses, and so that was my first taste of kind of linking. And then I kind of got addicted to doing it after writing some Renge. And I realized I kind of prefer just the single tan ringas. It's because it's like self-contained. You don't have to worry about connecting to something beyond just the initial verse. So I kind of like that. So I'll send her five one day, and maybe she'll send me five, or one day I might send her one. You just kind of sometimes I try to make something kind of funny off of it, or surprising, usually to kind of make her laugh or whatnot. But a lot of them are kind of serious, or they can be fun or serious, whatever way I like to go with it. Sometimes you might have a serious first part, and you might take the second part a different direction, just to kind of have something more interesting going on with the poem. Um,
So was Christina the poet who introduced you to this form?
no, I learned about this form on the Michael Dillon Welch.
Oh, okay.
website, Grace Guts, and I also saw that the Haiku Foundation, John Stevenson led a Tanringa session there last year at some point, and I sent some verses to that. But this the first time I've actually written them with someone like personally was with Christina,
Okay.
and we started like in February, and we've written probably like 500 and 500 some by now. So
Wow, that is
yeah,
impressive.
yeah, a lot of them we don't really worry about perfecting every single one of them. It's kind of like you send them, you just some of them stick work with you, and some of them don't. So the main thing is you're kind of you're accepting whatever you have and trying to make the most of that poem in the moment without dwelling too long. Because if you dwell too long, you kind of it's kind of defeating the purpose of the form, really. So
And
I try to
do you mostly collaborate via email?
yeah, we do docs on the
Oh, okay.
Gmail, yeah, or the Google. So I'll open that every day and see what's there. We'll leave comments and poem. I mean, it's pretty fun. I'd encourage other people to do that, and you learn a lot because I kind of learned from her style of writing, which is a lot different than mine. She's more like in the moment and image based. Like I kind of deviate from that somewhat. I'm kind of like in a tanka mindset or a senryu mindset, and she's more in a haiku mindset. So I think it's a good play. Then also she's from Malaysia, so the cultural, like she has different animals and plants and stuff that I get to usually have to look them up and Google them and see what they are, and that'll sometimes inspire a response. So, like
As
sorghum stilts, I didn't know what those were until I looked
um
it up. So,
oh, okay. So do you want to explain what they are for those who might not know?
um, I don't know exactly how you make them because I wasn't able to find much on that. So I would imagine you tie them together and then there's somehow fastened, like kids stand on them and something like that. And they make plastic ones now.
Hmm.
So I couldn't find anything online about how you actually make them, but I did find an article that it was talking about how there's differences in the languages
Hmm.
between North and South Korea now after the split, and they've kind of lost certain words in the dialect. I guess like they don't find sorghum stilts mentioned in their writings much anymore, so it's like a memory, or in the danger of becoming a memory, according to this one article I was looking at here. Um, yeah, I don't really know exactly how you would make them, but
So is a sorghum still used for agriculture primarily?
no, it's like something you play with. It's like a
Oh,
toy,
it's a toy.
like a stilt.
Okay. Yeah.
Like you're walking further higher off the ground, so it's
Okay.
something it's like a toy basically,
Yeah.
and it's something back in the day they would play with. I don't You really can't find much about it if you Google it. I don't You can try it out. I don't see much there.
Sure. I might have to do some in-depth work for the show notes, but that's
Yeah,
fascinating about the dialect changing because I mean those the two Koreas have been separated for I'd say in terms of
S-
human history a relatively short
70 years,
time,
70
but
years,
long enough that we can see how language evolve. Like to me, that's just so
right?
fascinating. Like just how relatively quickly language can evolve.
Yeah, because I guess you have like little slang that can transform to deeper,
Yeah.
what the language is. But yeah, soju itself was introduced to Korea during the Mongol invasions of 1231 to 1259. So that goes way back, which is just a liquor made from rice, wheat, or barley grains,
Hmm.
typically.
Yeah.
Um, and the first part references that the etiquette for drinking soju is that the youngest person is to pour the drink with two hands, and the person
Hmm.
receiving it is also supposed to receive the drink with two hands. So the poem's kind of referencing I guess, an older time, like the unity between
Yeah.
the cultures that should exist, or hopefully will exist one day
Yeah.
again. And I
And that
think that's
I appreciate that explanation because in these in whether it's haiku or tangranga or senryu, there's such short forms, but they can be so uh loaded. And so like this was the first poem I was like, yes, I want to hear this one on the podcast,
great.
absolutely. And yet
Yeah,
you
it's my
still like
favorite.
my own historical and cultural knowledge is pretty lacking in that area, and so you have just unraveled layers while we're talking that I
Right.
still got a lot out of the poem not knowing anything.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's great that it can
yeah,
say something without actually knowing what it's saying
yeah,
exactly, to the person, it can say something, but
yeah, and
what I'm
yet the really the what can reveal the true depth is a lot of implicit understanding, and you never know, what your reader
right,
is going to know or not know, and you just have to hope that they get it.
right. Well, actually, you just hope they get something out of it. You don't really as
Yeah,
long as you get something out of it, it doesn't I
as
don't
long
care
as you
what
get
it
something out
is.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the whole idea. Even if you
So
don't
this, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry. All of it's so different when you are not in the same room with another person.
Right, there's a little bit of delay or something, I think,
There's a little
so
bit of delay. But in the second one, the cold rainy day. So since you are here and you can tell me about the two-line turn, she finds the rubber chicken in her purse. What
yeah,
what inspired that? I was super curious.
I
I loved that one. And I was super curious about it.
yeah, I don't know how I can really explain it with so much, but like I said, sometimes I'll take them and try to find something funny
Hmm.
with it. So I was thinking about hot curry. I'm thinking about, chicken curry is the only kind of curry I'm really
Hmm.
familiar with eating. But and then I was thinking about tears. I was like, there's other ways you could be crying just from the heat, which is like a
Yeah,
superficial
yeah,
crying. And so is like laughter. If you're crying, you're not really there's
yeah,
no sorrow involved. So it's kind of she's laughing. I guess she's laughing because of the rubber chicken, which I don't know why rubber chicken is funny to me, but it
yeah.
kind of goes it kind of goes it's like an old gag type thing. So
Yeah.
but yeah, there's nothing too deep about that. Uh it just makes me laugh. And usually if you laugh at your own poem, it's not always funny to everybody else.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a rubber chicken, it made me think we're staying with my partner's family right now, and our nephew. He's 2.5, and like we're like,
Putting
where are the
actual
remotes? Why can't we find the remotes? And the remotes are just somewhere that you would not think a remote would be,
well,
and it's
that's
like
the other
he's not
side of it.
malicious,
Yeah, it
right?
could be rubber chicken, like
Yeah,
chicken actual chicken that's rubbery. It could be.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
that was a
Who knows? Who knows what
hear
you're
that.
gonna find and where
Yeah,
you're gonna find
right.
it?
But yeah, the idea with some of these poems is you kind of want someone to maybe think something else like that. I mean, you don't
Yeah,
want everyone to think, oh, just a rubber chicken, like an actual rubber chicken. But
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
Well, do you want to read your next two?
yes, I'll go ahead. So I'm gonna read them both. I'll read them both twice, one at a time. That way we don't get lost here. Green walnut steeped in mead, inky stain, the calligraphy of our correspondence. Green walnut steeped in mead, inky stain, the calligraphy of our correspondence. Fruit stand, the butterflies sipping cut oranges from the edge of a knife. Fruit stand, the butterflies sipping cut oranges from the edge of a knife.
Thank you. So you've mentioned that you don't, necessarily revise all of them, and you can't, right? Like I have written so many haiku, and so many of them are
Right.
just like, I did it. That's fine. That was enough.
That's how I do
Um,
most of them. Yeah.
yeah. But you did mention, you leave comments for each other and things like that. So do you have a formal revision process? Do you sort of spot revise? Do you do any at all? I'm always curious
Yeah, that's a
how
good.
poets approach revision, especially in short poems.
So often, if usually the most editing just goes when I'm creating the verse in the first place. Like that first one, I had many different. I might go through like five different kind of ideas to go with it, and eventually I just kind of stick with one.
Yeah.
And I'll play with like the way it sounds. Like I'll read the first part and the second part to see if it sounds like the flow is good there. And then I don't really touch unless I submit it somewhere. If I'm thinking about submitting it, like maybe I like a certain poem, I might go back and play
Hmm.
with different wordings like these and A's, or I might even look at a thesaurus and see what kind of other words I can use for that. Like online, you can do it online thesaurus kind of check sometimes on certain words. But usually it's just, I guess it's just on the spot editing. It's nothing, it's not like a profound process. Or sometimes she might suggest something like, maybe this should be a separate line, or maybe this word, or she might ask about a word sometimes. But in the beginning we did a lot more of that. Now we've done so many. It's kind of like you just put them out there and see what sticks with each person. And yeah, there's a lot of surprises. Like she'll surprise me with some all the time. So that's kind of the
I think
fun
when
of
you
it.
write with someone for a while, you can find that sort of stylistic
Right. It's like
flow.
you quit trying to fix it and you kind of just go with what is happening,
Yeah.
instead of because every poem you can do something with it. So,
Yeah.
because I'm sure some of mine are not her favorite, but she'll, she'll just write to them. But
So I was curious. Well, and of course, I can't ask Christina what she intended, and that's
yeah,
fine. Um, but I was she wrote both of the three liners for these, and again, I was
yes.
trying to keep it more balanced, but I love these. I'm curious. Are you a woodworker at all?
No, I've never done.
Okay.
Actually, I have a disability too, so I can't really use my hands very well.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, I have muscular dystrophy. So,
Yeah.
maybe if I could, I would be into just creating things. I don't know. It's possibly.
Yeah. Well, I was fascinated because and those first three lines about steeping a green walnut. Now I've never heard of one steeped in meat before,
Yeah, I've
but
heard them steeped in water. I don't
yeah,
really. I
and
guess that
this
would be
will
a
literally
different.
make a walnut for all of you who don't are listening at home who don't know about woodworking. You literally can make a walnut stain for furniture at home by steeping walnuts in water.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah. If you don't wear gloves when you're working with green walnuts, your hands will be stained.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah. So I
yeah.
imagine
So
that can be used for other things. I guess. Yeah,
yes, it can.
I didn't think about that.
You can definitely literally, and that was so. I was like, wow, you can literally make walnut stain from actual walnuts, and of
Yeah,
course
I didn't
you
know
could.
that.
Why wouldn't you be able to? That's we
Right.
lived a long time making decorative stuff and finishing furniture without industrial finish.
Yeah, I didn't know about green walnuts until that poem. I looked them up. It's
Yeah,
just a unripe walnut. I didn't realize, but
yeah.
I've never eaten one. And Christina told me she has not really eaten one. She saw it on a Kigo list and kind of, I guess, learned some about it. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, well, the steeping them in meat,
sounds
that could be
interesting.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting. So what led you to your response in that poem?
yeah. So after researching it and kind of learning some more about it, um, that didn't really inform this particular verse, but the inky stain
Mhm,
is kind of what I focused on. A lot of times when I'm doing these, I kind of focus on that last line, kind of like a Tonka mindset, like I'm going to write from that somewhat.
mhm,
Not always, but inky stain and then steeped in mead. I feel like there's some kind of social aspect of that, like maybe collecting walnuts and steeping them and kind of working them with your hands. And to me, the correspondence would be working together to create something, to
mhm,
create that whatever you're, I guess, collecting the walnuts. And the calligraphy would not necessarily literal calligraphy, but just the stain that's left could be the the memory of it, I guess, mentally maybe as well. Kind of not literally, like maybe calligraphy, but I also think of like a letter
mhm.
when people used to write. They would maybe write in calligraphy one at some point, maybe a long time ago. I don't know,
Yeah,
but just the different ways people communicate is a calligraphy,
yeah.
like how not a literal calligraphy. Communication between two people is a kind of calligraphy, I
It
guess.
is. Yeah.
Yes.
And the second one, so I love that opening verse, fruit stand, because um, so in St. Louis, where I'm living now, we have a butterfly house, and it is like a greenhouse full of butterflies, and I sometimes have to take groups there for work. So terrible. But the first time I was there, I just remember they have all kinds of butterflies, and there's this giant blue butterfly, and it was the fruit smelled a little fermented, but it was sipping at this fruit, and I thought the butterfly looked kind of drunk, but like the fruit smelled super fermented.
Oh,
I don't know if butterflies can get drunk. But the butterflies seem
Supposedly, some animals can, so maybe
supposedly.
it's possible.
But I just thought like having seen a butterfly sipping cut fruit, I like that image was so clear to me. Um,
Like I've
and
heard of
so yeah, I can see your like as we go through these and you talk to me about your process, I can see what you how you respond like primarily to that last line.
right.
Um, yeah, was that mostly what you were responding to in this one, or was
Yeah,
yeah,
I think mostly that is what I do, but I think there's also a contrast between the delicateness of the butterflies and the
mm,
knife,
yeah,
and kind of like a danger that's not really there for the butterfly, but there's like a hard edge to that
yeah,
sort of thing. Um, I've seen things where they lay out like slices of fruit to attract butterflies too. I've seen that
hmm,
at like maybe a garden or something.
yeah,
Um, yeah, there's nothing too deep about that other than just I like the sound of it and the
yeah.
feel of that. So
No, I loved it, and like I said, that first image was super clear for me, especially after going to the butterfly house, and which I love. Um, uh, that's one of my favorite places to get to take people. But then that for me that sense of a knife edge was a really clear juxtaposition that I really appreciated. And when
thank you. Yeah.
I have a I have pretty limited experience with Tanrenga, but I know my own process. Um, what I actually try to do is I actually try to create as much contrast as possible if I'm doing
Uh,
the two line response, and that is my personal preference. There's no one right way to
right.
do it. That's just probably because I'm a very ornery person in general.
I think I do a variety of kind of
Yeah,
subtle or sometimes
yeah, yeah,
opposite even sometimes. I think it just depends on what I feel in that moment, what my mood is at that
yeah,
moment. Sometimes like I'm just going to do something crazy with this one. So
yeah.
sometimes, but
But yeah, I
that's a
really
subtle one.
responded to that sense of contrast between the butterfly and the knife edge.
Yeah, I think that's important for making something interesting. Like they call it like the aha moment, I guess, between the verses, like
Yeah.
like a high bun between
Hmm.
the prose and the poem itself. It's kind of like what you're creating with the two parts of the
Yeah.
Tanringa.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Next two.
all right. All right, this first one is actually maybe my favorite of these. Just something about it. For me, I can feel that one and taste that one. So, village crowd, breakfast coffee at the hawker stand, a crispy corn dog between sips. Village crowd, breakfast coffee at the hawker stand, a crispy corn dog between sips. Evacuees line up for water and rice, a volunteer's smile. The cute little ones tug their mother's dress. Evacuees line up for water and rice, a volunteer's smile. The cute little ones tug their mother's dress.
So before we get into the poems themselves, I am curious. What led you? Do you always write about have Tanranga that include food, or is it just that you've written so many that food
There's
has
just
just
so
come up?
many, I kind of go back and pull out what it was food related,
Yeah,
basically. Yeah,
yeah. No, that makes sense. I
right.
was just very curious if this was a
When I look through, I see food a lot, so I guess food must be a motivator for our writing, I guess,
yeah,
because
yeah.
there's probably I think I sent you 20 maybe, and then there's probably
You sent me
50
21,
more.
and I narrowed it down
Okay.
to 8.
Yeah, there's probably 50 other ones of the
Yeah,
500 some, so
yeah, yeah,
in some written sense.
yeah. All right. So the village crowd. I also that one is definitely one of my favorites. Um, part of it is because I am a person who believes that any food is breakfast food, and I have
Yes.
definitely there have been points in my life where I have gone to a 24-hour diner and gotten a cheeseburger at 9 o'clock in the morning because I really wanted a cheeseburger for
Yeah, I
breakfast.
believe anything can be breakfast and breakfast can be anything. So,
Yes.
and you
Yeah.
can have breakfast anytime. Sometimes you might want breakfast in the evening or
Yeah. So that was what I really responded to was actually that turn of the crispy corn dog, um, um, and specifically with breakfast coffee because you can make
right,
coffee any time of day, right? Like
right.
at least where I live, I could definitely just uh, never sleep and just caffeinate myself 24/7
Right.
if I wanted to.
Sounds pretty good.
Um, so to me what really makes this work is that Christina put breakfast coffee in there.
Right. It is
Um,
because you don't
yeah,
think of a corn dog for breakfast. So
no, but I would
uh,
totally eat a corn dog for
yeah, definitely.
breakfast.
For me, I can
um,
kind of feel that. I can kind of taste that corn dog almost. So that's why I like it. But I don't know if
yeah,
everyone can feel that with that, but that's what
yeah.
I felt with it.
So were you trying to do and again, you've written so many, you might not remember your exact process, right?
Right.
But
Because this
were
one's
you
probably
trying to
old.
do something super like were you trying to bring in a lot of contrast? And if you don't know, that's okay.
No, I wasn't trying to bring any contrast with this one. I was just kind of bringing something I might enjoy. I
Mhm.
think
Yeah,
maybe some coffee and a corn dog would be
yeah.
pretty good. I think I've actually never had a coffee with a corn dogs to know what that tastes like, but maybe I should. I don't
I haven't either, but definitely
know.
I'm down for
Sounds
coffee with a
interesting.
cheeseburger. I am down for a coffee with a McDonald's filet o fish, which is really the only thing I
Yeah.
like at McDonald's anymore. That has
Not the Big Mac.
never was
No.
really into those.
Yeah, I like that.
But that filet o fish still has great sentimental value for me. It
Or the
largely has
McRib.
great. Yeah,
The
no, I've
McRib, maybe.
never had one.
uh,
I didn't eat McDonald's for many years, and then once I did on a road trip, and I got chicken nuggets, and I was just like, no, I can't.
yeah.
But that filet o fish to me is still all right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the nuggets taste like chicken or not. It's debatable.
Mm, maybe they
They
do
are chicken.
now.
Yeah, maybe.
I last went, and I'd say 2012 or 2013, and I was like, this does not
Yeah.
taste as good as it did when I was 8 years old.
I don't want to cost you your McDonald's sponsorship here, so let's not.
Fortunately,
Yeah.
I currently do not have one. Probably. All right. So let's see. And now the next one, the evacuees lining up for water and rice. This is one where you wrote the opening 3-line verse. Was
Yes.
there a specific situation that inspired that?
Yeah, I have a friend that lives in the Philippines, and they had a big
Yeah.
typhoon come through earlier this year,
Yeah.
and she's a teacher there, and she actually lost a couple of her students
Oh my gosh.
in
That's
that.
terrible.
Yeah, and at their school, they actually did something where they had people volunteering to give out rice and water, and a lot of the people giving it out are also people that were evacuees themselves.
Mm,
So kind of just the worst off given to the lesser worse off.
yeah.
So or the lesser worse off helping the more worse off, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like just the smile, someone's face can be as good as the water and rice that you're getting. Just seeing someone smile
Yeah.
at a time of crisis, I think can
Mhm.
is like a
Yeah.
form of sustenance.
A smile can really make a difference. And I'm really I appreciate Christina if you're listening. I really appreciate the way that Christina brought in that element um, of children into
Yeah, it makes
it.
it that's a very sweet scene there with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, as soon as I saw that one, I knew we didn't edit or anything on that one. That was good to
yeah,
go for me.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I love the feel of that one because I can see that. But
All right, last two.
all right. And the first one, this first poem was actually in haiku dialogue not long ago as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Orange marigolds, the good tequila almost gone. To my head, first taste of spirit. Orange marigolds, the good tequila almost gone. To my head, first taste of spirit. Cactus flowers pregnant with dragon fruits. Summer grove. She stacks them in her stall, opens one with a machete. Cactus flowers pregnant with dragon fruits. Summer grove. She stacks them in her stall, opens one with a machete.
All right. And my last non-poem question. I am curious because you mentioned having to occasionally research, look things up, and that's something that I know gets really debated in haiku. Is like, is
Right,
it okay if someone has to look a word up or someone has to look, a concept up? And I'm like, yes, because
right,
to me, I'm like, obviously, because we just can't know everything,
right.
right? Like that's my stance is we can't know everything. So if your reader is not willing to look something up, to me, that's their loss. Um,
Right.
but I'm just curious. What is your stance um, on research, and when you find yourself having to look something up? I'm curious how often it happens for you, and do you like have any specific places where you like to really go to dive into the research process?
Yeah, I mean, if I see something I don't really recognize, like a plant or an animal, I'll just put it in Google
Hmm.
usually and find some reputable sources there and kind of just read through
Hmm.
those. Particularly with Christina's haiku, there's a lot of animals and plants that I'm not familiar with. She's very knowledgeable of birds and animals and plants that I'm not really familiar with. So I feel like I learn a lot by looking up. And sometimes you figure out a poem to write based on what you see.
Yeah,
Like maybe you'll see an image or learn something that you particularly are fond of about that particular item and kind of delve deeper on that. Some of my best haiku were actually haiku where I've researched the Kigo uh, and kind of delved into that and kind of found a new way to go with it based on what I learned. So I think learning is important.
yeah,
Experience is a form of learning that's important for IQ, probably the most important. But I think that that's also a legitimate way of learning and writing haiku is just learning about the world any way you can, basically. So
yeah. I do find I've been doing a Kigo practice, and I often find myself having to look things up because I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's even necessarily native to where I'm
right,
currently
and
hanging out.
even if you kind of know what it is, if you read about it, you might learn a deeper
Yeah,
history of it. Because a lot of the Kigo have a deeper meaning than just what they appear as, like
they
the
definitely do.
historical significance.
Yeah,
Um, I enjoy looking up things and researching.
yeah,
I enjoy learning. So if I'm reading a journal, like a long journal, I probably won't always look up everything. I'll just kind of go through it because there's like hundreds of poems. I'm
yeah,
not going to look up every.
yeah,
I more just look them up if I'm interacting with a certain theme
yeah,
or a prompt or responding in a linked verse like this.
yeah. Absolutely. So I'm very curious about the first one because again, we have never met. Um, so
Right.
and I lived in Texas for years, and so uh, having lived in Texas and being close to Mexico and Day of the Dead, marigolds have a definitely a certain association for me with Day of the Dead festivities. I was wondering if
Yes.
they had that for you, if that was something that
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't have much experience with the actual celebration itself, but I know that the marigold is kind of supposed to represent the holiday,
Hmm.
um, and it's usually kind of spread on an altar or around the home to kind of welcome I guess it kind of attracts the spirit from the world of the dead to the world of the living, supposedly. And you might leave out like tequila, maybe someone's favorite tequila as
Hmm.
as a memory of them or to I guess when they come back to earth they are supposed to kind of share in that. And also you can drink it with someone kind of to celebrate, I guess, the holiday or celebrate someone, instead of mourning. It's kind of like instead of mourning loss, you're kind of celebrating
Yeah,
the person.
yeah.
And there's also tequila they make with infusing the orange marigolds in the actual tequila itself. So and I love where Christina went with that because she knew exactly that idea behind it, I think,
Yeah,
because,
that's one of my favorite of the ones that where Christina wrote the second lines. That's one of my favorite. Um,
I like how it goes, "Almost gone to my head,"
mhm.
too. Like,
Yeah,
that's kind of like a phrase in itself.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I don't want to comment too much on what I think Christina's doing because that may not necessarily be what she's doing, but
right,
certainly, especially after you sent me 21 of these, I'm perceiving that she also has a specific way of responding when she's writing the second two lines. That is interest. That's definitely
right.
interesting to me.
Yeah, she definitely responded to all 3 of the lines.
Hmm.
The spirit can refer to
Yeah,
the significance of the marigolds or the tequila, and then, if it goes to your head, I guess you're kinda not getting drunk on it, I guess,
yeah,
or it could just be, kinda getting into the holiday, I guess,
yeah.
in a way, but
And then the dragon fruit. That's one where you wrote the two line response. Again, anything about that specific process for this one?
Yeah, so I don't know what a dragon. I didn't really know. I mean, I've heard of a dragon fruit, but I did not know exactly what it was.
Mhm.
So I looked it up and saw that it's kind of a big cactus-like tree
Mhm.
that grows little. Well, not little. They're kind of big,
Yeah.
big red fruit. Tropical plant.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's basically a cactus, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the fruit of a
Yeah.
specific type of
Yeah, it's kind
cactus.
of like a red fruit, kind of spiky.
Yeah, I'm
And
sadly allergic to them.
I've never had them, so
They're pretty
Christina
good.
said Christina says she has them for breakfast, so I've
Yeah, I find a lot of fruits with like tiny seeds embedded in the flesh to be visually off-putting. But I was like, I'm gonna try it, right? Because I'm like, I want to be a well-researched eater, and I don't want to just judge a fruit because I think the seeds look funky.
right.
And I did, and it tasted very delicious. But then it turns out I'm allergic to them. So, oops.
Oh, yeah, that's one way to find out, but,
Yeah. But they are pretty good. So I would say if you happen upon one and they're in season and you can get a good ripe one, you should. I would recommend
yeah, I've not
everyone
really
to try them.
seen them very often, but
I
I
would say
have
in Virginia,
seen.
yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, so researching it, I saw pictures of them, like, in a stand where
Mhm.
someone had, like, in Vietnam, they had, like,
Yeah,
a stand of
yeah.
them stacked up, and so I just kinda went with that, and then I was thinking kinda like the visual of, someone opening one up. uh, there's a, kinda like a toughness in there
Mhm.
or something, like, she's, just gets one and smacks one open there
Yeah.
on the stall, so, um, it doesn't really that really is definitely far from the actual poem. The initial 3 lines doesn't really just the stacking them in the stall is kinda the only
Yeah.
follow there. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I like it when a poem can
right.
go the distance. So
I don't know when I'm talking, I feel like am I explaining or just kinda rambling on, so hopefully it makes some sense
to
what I'm
me, I
explaining.
mean, I, I have 2 English degrees and a poetry degree, so to me, it's all the same.
Oh, okay, yeah,
It's just nice to talk about things, and I don't know. To me, sometimes it helps to. I like to go on those
yeah,
tangents.
just a free flow, just a
Yeah,
free flow of ideas.
yeah.
But what I would do is I would recommend other people to write in this form because I don't think haiku should be written alone. I think it's such a short form. I think it makes sense to write it as a correspondence with other people and have them looking at it. And this is a good way of having other people edit your work without it feeling like it's just about editing. It's about writing. It's a writing process as well. So yeah,
Well, I was going
and
to
it's
ask if you had any last thoughts because we're coming
right.
up on our time, but it sounds like you went into that very naturally. But if there is
Yeah.
anything else you'd like to say, that here's your chance.
Yeah, I just say find someone to write with and focus on just writing whatever comes to mind. Don't kind of sweat over the details of it. Creating something together is kind of more rewarding than creating something by yourself. I feel like because two people can celebrate the poem being accepted into a journal, and it's. I was kind of when I first reached out to you, I was thinking of the idea of working together, like making food as well, because it's
All
more
right.
enjoyable when people
Yeah,
cook together.
it is
And
sometimes.
if you
It
cook with,
depends.
yeah, it can be contentious,
It
but like
can.
cooking with children or something is a good
Yeah.
activity. You can't be too
Yes.
worried about how it turns out necessarily.
No. But
Kind of like with these, when you're writing poems, you can't really worry too much about how it's going to turn out. You just
no.
kind of the process is what's fun. So
Yeah.
you should cook with other people and write poems with other people, and you'll be happier, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe
I
so.
like that. I might use that for the title of the episode.
Oh, okay,
All right.
but
Well, thank you so much for
yes.
being on the podcast and being my first guest I've never met.
All right, thank you, Allison. It was nice to meet you, and I look forward to writing some more of these, and maybe we'll get together again sometime to
That would
discuss
be
some more of
fun.
them. All
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you again to Matt Defibaugh for coming on the podcast to talk about your Tanrenga. Of all of the regular episodes you've heard so far, I believe that's everyone's first time being on a podcast. So, a lot of people are sort of stepping outside their comfort zone along with me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you also, Christina Chin, for letting us share the work you collaborated on, even though you weren't able to make it on the show. I appreciate you just being willing to put your work out there like that. It means a lot to me. Um, Next episode, September 20th, with Jennifer Hambrick. And Jennifer is a recording professional, so she's my first guest where she really knew what she was doing, which was really motivated me to bring my A game in a new way because I am really learning as I go, and she really knows what's up. And we had a great conversation. It was a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy it. All right, just a reminder, my September slots are all full, but my October calendar is pretty empty. So if you want to come on the show, go to culinarysaijiki.com, click join the conversation, fill out the form, and I'll work on getting you scheduled. I'd love to talk to you. And again, I do focus on haiku, but especially after the great fun I had talking with Matt for this episode, if you write, in the Japanese short form tradition and you write about food, I'm welcoming other forms as well. And of course, you can always buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/culinarysaijiki. And yes, all the links will be in the show notes. And it really means a lot when you do share these episodes out to the people you think will appreciate them. I'm seeing more and more people stick them in their Instagram stories and on Twitter, and it really means a lot to see that people care enough to spread the word. So thank you for that, and thank you for listening.